Yeah.
Yeah. And otherwise known as pogies everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The my wife is from northern New Jersey.
Yeah.
So my father-in-law is a scout dealer off Route 17 up there.
Cool.
Yeah, so he's always running out to Montauk to deliver boats and all that. Yeah. So
Very popular out there too.
yeah.
A lot of people have scouts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good for the region up there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's cool, man. It's a whole different scene. Even going we the past few years we'd have to go up because I do all the artwork for the Jimmy Johnson. And they had that Atlantic City tournament up there.
Yeah.
So going up there, it's like exposing myself to like an entirely different fishery. You know, those freaking big eye tuna are huge.
Sick.
Yeah, huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a different vibe up there. You
Totally.
know, even some of the things that we think are just commonplace down here, like just for example, like the fishing shirts and the custom shirts that we do here, right? It's like guys don't do that up there. You know, so it's like, oh my God, we need you up here. We need you to do this stuff. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't have like, they're like, we do, but it's not like a thing, you
Yeah.
know? I'm like, okay. I'm like,
I think because it's seasonal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They winterize boats.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like,
Yeah.
a foreign concept for us. But
yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
We're immersed in it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected down here.
Yeah.
Connected by water.
Yeah, connected by water nonstop.
And
24/7.
Up there, it's just, it's more seasonal, and everybody, they do their thing, and they dream about fishing in the winter.
Right.
And they travel to other places.
They wear blue jeans on the boat.
Yeah. That's a Carolina thing. They love that.
Is it really?
Yeah. You ever seen that? They love it. The king mackerel, the kingfish guys from Carolinas all wear blue jeans.
Really?
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
It's a Carolina thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's I don't know. It's a southern thing. I don't know.
Is it that cold there? I mean, is it blue jean weather?
We're in the Carolinas?
Yeah, during kingfish season. Is it wintertime? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think it's in the cold in the mornings too, especially, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. I think they're just good old boys. You know?
So something that sucks is when they're wet, you know what I mean? Like, jeans get wet, they don't dry out real well, you know?
No.
So.
No. That's their uniform, though.
So what's up? Nice to have you back.
Feels good to be back. I thought I didn't got a call from you in a while, and sometimes I worry, you know?
I don't think anyone's gotten a call from me in a while, but so don't take it personally. So
not this time.
Now that I'm healthy again.
Not this time.
I
I can't say I can take it personally this time.
Yeah. Please don't.
Mm-mm.
Please don't.
No.
So it's just good to see. I haven't seen you in a while. I don't think I've seen you since the Broward CCA chapter event.
Well, I came by that one day, when Mikey and I were going to lunch, and
I wasn't here.
You weren't here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't make it up this way that often, even though I'm in Fort Lauderdale every day. But it's just I don't know. The traffic's discouraging now. It's hard to get down.
Traffic is bad.
Hard to get down Atlantic. It's not what it used to be. It's ridiculous. So, but like I said, it's always I will always make time to come. Hang out and see you, whether we podcast or not. It's always worth it to come to the studio.
You're a good friend, dude.
And
I
catch up.
that.
So, and you've done a lot for us, and we're grateful for your support as always. So
awesome. And first time in the studio.
Yep.
Right, and hopefully first of many times. Mikey Finiguerra. Very nice to meet you. So thank you for coming in.
I can't believe it doesn't even make sense.
No.
Know all the same people.
Yep.
Live down the street.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Well, that's connected by water, man. It's almost kind of just like this. I'm a Pisces, and someone once told me, "Oh yeah, like I don't really buy into the whole zodiac thing too much, you know what I mean?" But they go, "Oh, Pisces float through life." I'm like, all right, I can see that about me. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of like, but that's connected by water, man. We're all kind of like living and breathing in the same organism type of circle, and we cross when we cross.
It's just easy to say. It's funny, every podcast I feel like we mention it, right? And it's like, I get it's the brand and everything, but there's no brand out there, I think, for this that makes more sense collectively on a day-to-day basis and what we love to do than being connected by water. So this theme is, I feel like a lot of who I am into networking and knowing different people, and and we say it's a small town down here, it's a small world down here, and then when you condense it down even further into fishing, I mean, it gets even smaller, right? And so, I think there's so many benefits and so many different things that can come from, these connections, and how we can benefit not only each other, but the resource, and make great friends, in the process of doing that. So
100%, man. That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. Let me kick this thing off officially, right? This is the Connected by Water podcast, fueled by our very good friends at Papa's Pilar Rum. We remind you never to be a spectator. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Right?
Salud.
Absolutely.
So we were drinking the sherry cask today, right?
We're drinking the sherry cask.
All right. And we are a Waypoint hosted podcast. You can find us there or watch, listen, and do not forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hit that like button, and please, we would love to hear from you in the comments or by email at sales@connectedbywater.com. But before we begin, we would like to announce this week's Starbright Solutions do-gooder of the week, and that would be Jordan Jennings from all the way over there on the other coast in California,
Nice.
right? Which exemplifies our mantra that we are all truly connected by water. Now, Jordan recently posted some video of himself retrieving Mylar balloons out of the water on a fishing day. He tagged Starbright Solutions Conservation Director Corey Redwine, but he also did a great job of getting the word out to tons of people about the dangers that these balloons pose to our oceans and waterways and everything that calls that home. And for that, Jordan is this week's Starbright Solutions do-gooder. And some Starbright goodies are coming your way, Jordan. So thank you very much. And we would like to just once again thank Papa's Pilar Rum and Starbright Solutions for keeping the lights on around here. So thank you for your continued support.
Yep, and those products will go to great use because that's all I use on my boat.
Yep.
And my boat shines like the 25-year-old diamond that it is.
Yep.
Do you guys know Jordan?
No.
Great dude.
You do know him?
Yeah.
Of course,
I don't
see
know.
it? This is what I,
Yeah,
this is what I was telling
totally.
you.
This is
guy knows-
great.
This guy knows
Yeah.
everybody.
Nice.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
That's awesome.
yeah. Seize the Sleigh.
Okay.
That's his name on Instagram.
What? How do you spell that out so people can follow him?
It's SEASTHESLAY.
There you go.
Yeah. Seize the
Nice.
Sleigh.
Okay.
Great
Well,
dude.
that whole bucket of fun back there is what he just
Oh,
won by
amazing.
being the do-gooder
Well
of the week.
deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been communicating with him for a while, and he does a lot of work with Penn.
Okay.
And he set me up with a few photo shoots with Penn.
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked with him.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where-
I know.
brother.
I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me.
It doesn't matter
You
where
know?
you are.
Great guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Starting off on the right foot.
Yeah.
Another thing that's starting off the right foot, another moment of Connected by Water was this guy texted me last week saying, hey, I got one of your shirts from your buddy Michael in Costa Rica at Epic Sport Fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, cool. And he goes, yeah, he put me on a black marlin.
Yeah.
So take me through that story. What is that, Los Sueños?
Yeah. This is I want to say this was the second trip that I've done to Los Sueños. Both of them won through our CCA banquet and auctions. So both of those trips are won through CCA.
Can I just pause you there
Yeah.
for one real quick second? Because
Anytime.
just in case people didn't see the other 10 million episodes that you've already been on, this is Mike Lambrechts. He's the president of the Broward chapter for the CCA, very good friend of mine, and you do a million other things besides that, but relative to the conversation, and you're also involved at the state level with the CCA.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Yeah.
I was president last year of CCA Florida. I'm vice chairman this year, and thankful to have the opportunity to be the chairman of CCA Florida next year. So
Nice. I failed to properly introduce you. I'm
no,
very sorry
that's fine.
about
That's
that.
why I'm here.
He's got
That's
so
why
many
I'm here.
titles.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
so
and if you're looking for a
active
fiduciary too,
Yeah, in addition to that, a financial advisor and my gosh, I don't even know.
My financial advisor.
A bunch of other
Yours
things
too,
too.
or no?
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, there we go.
There you go.
Just
Yep.
did business.
Yep, perfect.
Right now, my wife is my
yeah.
financial advisor, so probably better off. with this.
Oftentimes, that's how it works, Dennis. I work with the wives often more times than the husbands. But
Yeah. So Costa Rica, don't let me stop you.
So we were lucky enough the first time to get booked with Epic, and that was my first time. This was, I think, 7 years ago. I went with some old Sail Fishing Club members, Southern Anglers and Lauderdale Club, when I was a president back then. And we fished the Epic, had a great time. Really liked Mike Alligood a lot. His mates were great. First class program, first class boat, 33 LNH. It's all you need to go fishing over there. It's almost calm. I mean, it's calm almost all the time there. With some exceptions, obviously, but. So we, had a great trip that time, and this time around I was going back, and I'm like, well, there's nobody else I'd rather fish with than Captain Mike over there and on the Epic, and the first day we fished 2 days, and I had my girlfriend with me, and my sister and my brother-in-law who loves to fish, and he's immersed himself quite a bit in fishing in the last couple of years since since moving here. But we the first day we went and caught as many 30-40 pound yellowfins off these spinner dolphin porpoise schools as possible. Didn't get the opportunity at the big one, but those guys worked really, really hard. The next day he said, what do you guys want to do? Unfortunately, the girls had to go home, or if you're a fisherman, maybe fortunately, maybe not, I don't know, it depends how you look at it. But we had a little more room on the boat. The girls, they wanted to go home. There was no sun pad on the bow,
Right.
And that's problematic. I said, no problem. So so Mike said, what do you guys want to do? I said, let's do something different. Let's try the reef. Maybe try for a black marlin. Mike, have you guys been seeing any black marlins around here? Well, offshore we were catching a few, but we really haven't tried. I don't know anybody that's really been trying, but let's give it a shot and see what we can do. And so we went back to maybe, I don't know, it felt like about 15 miles south of Los Sueños and about 150 feet of water on this area of reef that they have, and where they catch the bonitas. So we're trolling around these little quills, looking for bonitas, and just kind of picked away at bonitas, picked away at them, and a duo, a pair of 35-pound dolphins comes storming in, eats a bonita right off the little quill.
Nuisance dolphin?
Yeah, right. I mean,
how deep?
150 feet, on the reef, and we didn't, that time of the year, there's not really any dolphin around. But I've seen some pictures, caught some nice ones, 40-pound range. But these two giants just came right through and ate the bonitas right off. That's what they wanted. They only want bonita. And so I was like, oh, maybe we'll catch some big dolphin. That'd be kind of cool, on a live bait, like that'd be a different experience. So anyways, we, in that same area where those bonitas are, which is where the marlin are feeding on, we tossed out, a spread of 4, live bonitas. He's got the proper equipment with the tuna tubes that he rebuilt on the boat. It's super nice setup.
Yeah, the tubes are nice.
I think he's running Tyrannos or Talica 30s, 30-pound mainline monofilament, 80-pound leader. I mean, nothing crazy heavy. I'm not even kidding. Within 5 minutes, they call them salchichas. These little bullet bonitas is what they have. You would kind of almost compare them to maybe a I don't want to say rainbow runner, but maybe your kingfish bait of choice that would be here. I'm drawing a blank on what type of bait,
Like
we
a
have
Speedo?
a Speedo.
Yeah.
There you go. They don't hold up real well, but you get them out and you fish them because they're really good.
They are Speedos, I think. No, was that what? No, they weren't.
They're not Speedo. They just call them their bullet bonita. They have different types of bonitas. Like say the bonitas that I think they call them their black bonitas or whatever, but they look almost like a mix between a skipjack and a bonita, and they're small. They can get a little bit bigger, and then the salchichas look like our common bonitas, but just a bullet version and just like a really pretty bait, like something you'd love to put on a kite here. And within 5 minutes, the thing starts screaming. We hook it up. I'm thinking, oh, it's probably a big dolphin, right? So I get the rod, and it's just dumping, dragging. I'm like, all right, cool. And this big giant to me, is big black marlin just jumps, leaps out of the water. And the first thing I thought to myself, I'm like, how in the hell are we going to get this thing to the boat on 30-pound gear? At the time, I didn't know we were only in 150 feet of water, which is kind of a saving grace because the fish can only go to the bottom or close to the bottom, and they can't go deep like we're used to in the Gulf Stream or in the Bahamas where they can go 300-400 feet, plus down, and you really got a problem on your hands. And that's where you need your heavier gear.
So is he running out?
So he's just running out, just greyhounding, and they're like, oh, that's a black marlin. I'm like, man, you guys, like, how do you know? They're like, oh no, it's a black. It's a black.
These guys know.
And he's like, a lot of people around here, they say that, they call blues black sometimes and so on and so forth. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, we've been fishing for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I didn't even have a chance to drink my fourth beer. My fourth beer.
What time is it? 7 a.m.
Well, we get on the boat at 7. We, by the time we were running catching bait, it might have been 10 a.m. So I don't know, maybe.
I mean, you're not running that far out for that, are you?
Not far out.
Normally,
no.
I know on Costa it's like kind of a little bit of a run, but I mean, I say that because here you're running for 5 minutes and you're in your spot, but
No, it's not a far
150
run.
feet of water.
Where the
150.
tunas are and the sails and everything, that's probably 20 miles where we were. But like off that area reef, it's maybe 5, 10 miles maybe. It was really hazy. It's a dry season, so it's kind of smoky and hazy.
Right.
So it was hard to see land. But so anyways, I just I was just shocked because for me, it's a bucket list. Like, this is a bucket list fish for me. I have a goal to catch every billfish, in the world. And I'm, at that time, I needed a black, a spearfish, and surprisingly, as much as I fish in the Bahamas, a white marlin, which they're crushing the white marlins right now and out in the Abacos, which I'm going there in May. So I'm hoping to get that knocked off the list real quick. And then I got to figure out where I'm going to go to catch a spearfish.
Are you going over there for the white marlin roundup?
No, we don't. We're not tournament fishermen. We're not that good. We just.
Perhaps you may have gotten an invite.
I don't
know.
No. We're the derelicts that they want to put on the end of the dock, and they,
right.
They want to keep you kind of behind the curtains. You know what I mean? We're not those models. So, anyways, again, it was the proper harness, everything. Say, hey, Mike, you want to get in the chair? I said, no, I'm fighting this thing. I started on stand up. I'm finishing this thing on stand up. And again, the problem is that even when that fish goes 100 feet down, you're not moving that fish. 350-pound fish, you're not moving that fish on 30-pound line. You're not moving that fish. So it's basically all about the captain at that point. You got to drive away from the fish and scope him out, and hopefully he comes up on his own so you can back down and get on him real quick, get that leader, try to piss him off a little bit and get him to jump to tire him out, because we wanted to get pictures, boat side. So then it, turns out we tried to do that. We tried to get ahead of him, get behind him, go around him, different angles, different things. Finally, after about an hour, maybe 45 minutes, got the leader, was able to get him pissed off. The fish jumped another 20 times in several different leader touches. And finally,
yeah, the video you shared was great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. And so I was saying earlier before we got on the podcast, or before we started, filming here, that I think I've been lucky enough to fish like my whole life, and have, I've been lucky enough to catch most of the billfish, and, catch all of our, species of fish here offshore. I fish out on the edge here a lot, and caught all sorts of cool things in the Bahamas. And, I'm lucky enough to fish in the Bahamas probably 4 times a year in a traveling program, which you've been on with me. And, but there's few times I think anymore that I can't wipe the smile off my face. And that was one of the days that I'll never forget, because I just never thought that I would get a shot at one, let alone, get a bite in 5 minutes, within 5 minutes of fishing,
right.
And then be able to wire, get the video released, properly release the fish. I mean, so for me, that's just a Cloud9 mem, and I couldn't beat it. And for anybody thinking about going to Costa Rica, I would never fish with anybody other than Captain Mike on the end.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude, that's great.
And epic. And the Cuberos, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's right. He told me that you guys got a Cubera too, that you didn't even mention.
So after that, we fished a little bit more from all, and we were like, oh, we need to catch more bait. Caught more bait. Interestingly enough, the bait is the same bait pretty much that you use for marlin, that the Cuberas eat. Even though we did get some basically thread fins, essentially it's pretty much the same bait, their version of a thread fin. And
they call them sardinas.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's a thread fin.
Pretty much a thread fin, right? Yeah. So, we, they have different methods of cutting them up, or cutting the tail off and making them kind of, pinwheel to the bottom, and doing different things. And so there's 4 other boats fishing around us on this little rock pile, and nobody's catching anything. Nobody's catching it. Maybe there was one. Somebody hooked a small mullet snapper. So I caught this real big mullet snapper, and it looks like a mullet. I was like, I never caught a mullet snapper.
They're cool, right?
Yeah. They fight like hell. And then we caught this giant Cubera. It was 45 plus or better, just a giant Cubera. And those things they fight like hell, and it's just, talk about an experience.
That's a great fish
to go,
by the way. Cuberas.
But to be able to
in
the same area, right, catch a black marlin, have a shot at catching a couple of real nice dolphins, 35 pounds or better, right at the transom. To have, the opportunity to catch big mullet snappers and these big Cuberas all in the same area, all in the same day. I mean, for me, it's a Cloud9 bucket list, everything trip. It's just, dude, you can't beat it.
Costa Rica is phenomenal, and especially going to fish with Michael. I mean, I know a lot of people, a lot of friends that have fished with him. We do apparel for him, and he's just a really good dude, and he runs a really tight operation. And if anyone is interested to go down, I'm telling you, if you're going to go down to Los Sueños especially, right, or anywhere really in that area, and if you're wondering about, I don't know who to book or I don't know who to charter, it's absolutely Michael, if you can get on with him. Because he's so booked out.
You got to book ahead.
Yeah, you got to book ahead. You got to just plan ahead. And, at times if you're going to be there and he's booked out, then I've had experiences where he's tried to accommodate with other captains that he trusts in his network and stuff like that. So he'd be more than happy to help you out like that. So you fished with him too, right?
I have, yeah. I filmed with him. doing the Two Conks sport fishing TV show.
Nice.
And another TV show with Two Conks called Two Conks Adventures.
And you do a lot with Two Conks.
A ton.
Yeah.
A ton, yeah. Jack is a close friend of mine, and I've been working with him for years now. 2 TV shows and various other projects for years and years.
So why don't you actually really quick, before you get into your fishing with Michael, give everyone like a quick little verbal resume on you real quick so the audience understands.
Yeah, I fishing first and foremost. I grew up fishing with my dad. I was telling you before in Montauk.
Yep.
So that's my favorite thing I do in like my off time is spend fishing. All of it. I'm fishing obsessed. My fiance says that's all I think about. It's all I talk about all the time. Which was something that I wanted to talk with Mike about earlier because it's so valid, right? Your girlfriend was with you. And what was she thinking during all of that as you were having the best time in the world? And she probably doesn't even understand that this is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, she wasn't on the second, trip of the Black Marlin, but I made sure to get her cranking on some yellowfins, and she got the technique down pretty well. I mean, she was understanding how to properly fight a fish on light tackle, and and I think more than anything, to your point, it's just they get to see what we're so crazy about.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, that's what we caught my wife's first bonefish in Marsh Harbor. It's like she wasn't nearly as excited about it as I was.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. She's like, cool, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I can't. You did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, only took her like a couple
She's like,
of tries.
isn't bigger better?
Yeah,
and
you're right. It's just
like,
this little silver thing.
Yeah.
You don't get this excited, Dennis, when we go to get our pedicures,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You like them, by the way?
But she has to be accepting of what you love, and you love what she loves because that's, when you love someone, that's what you that's what you're about. So I do the same thing. I drag my fiance all over the globe, everywhere we go. I'm looking. I was just in Kauai this past weekend, and we walked through the industrial area at 7 a.m. to go to the docks.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like walking over in mud and stuff to get to the fishing docks.
Roughing it. Yeah.
So to go see some boats are being launched, in the rain.
Right.
So I'm like, they're accepting of what you love, and that's what it's about.
Right. It's part of the gig, man.
Yeah. About me, fishing came first and foremost. I was in college. I went to University of Connecticut.
UConn, they're still alive.
I know.
I was so kicking myself for not taking them in the bracket, to be honest with you, by the way. I don't really watch college basketball. Like, I'm one of those March Madness only kind of guys.
Me too.
And I just was just looking at the list. I'm like, I just picked some random team. And I saw UConn play in the first round. I'm like, why the hell did I not pick that team? They're phenomenal.
Favored. Yeah. I become a fan every March Madness, basically, But I went to UConn, and I was there for men's championship, women's championship, same year. Like,
cool.
Yeah, I love it, And how did I get into what I do now, which is production, photography, videography, mostly around fishing, boating, that kind of realm, But because I wanted to put together what I studied in school, marketing, and what I loved, which was fishing. And trying to figure out how to do that. And I wound up, first things first, I wound up writing fishing shows.
Okay.
When I was working as a toll booth attendant in college.
Come on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really?
Toll attendant.
Toll Booth Willie.
Yeah, in this like yellow shirt, and like at the parking garage at UConn.
Right.
And people would come in for the basketball games, and I was working at toll booth attendant, which was great because I would work 3 days a week. I would work 2:30, 6:30 Tuesday and Thursday, and 2 to 10 on Sundays, right? And I had money.
Yeah.
Like spending money.
Do they pay you in quarters?
Nice.
Or?
No.
I was going to say, one for you, one for me.
No.
There's a dollar bills,
I
maybe.
wish I was slick like that because I wasn't, and I'm so bad at math that I'd come up and my register would be a little short, and I'd be like, God damn it.
Dude, did you ever listen to that Adam Sandler, Toll Booth Willie?
No,
I gotta. All right, so there's the album. They're all gonna laugh at you, right? This Adam Sandler. So now I'm aging myself. Like this came back in like the early '90s. I was in high school working at BC Surf and Sport, right? And this is way back when, and some skate magazine, I think it might have been Transworld or something, like had this little cassette tape, and it was like fresh stuff. Like this is when Adam Sandler's They're All Gonna Laugh at You, like this cassette tape that he came out with, and there was a bunch of skits on there, like, and this Toll Booth Willie was one of them. But so you open it up and we started playing it in the shop, and it was this thing where it's just, the people were like, "Hey, Toll Booth Willie, hey, how you doing? Here, that'll be $1.75." And he goes, "Here you go, Toll Booth Willie. I want you to just take that and shove that right up your ass." So screw you, kids. Yes, it was like this whole big skit thing.
I can relate to all that,
Yeah.
So that's what happened. I was working in the toll booth, and it was like a Sunday, and I was like, how can I put together fishing and marketing? I wound up writing fishing shows. I wound up writing Rich Tudor, Saltwater Experience.
Yeah.
I wound up writing, I think it was like Blair Wiggins. And I wound up writing Peter Miller, Best to Billfish.
You wrote those, like, because Saltwater Experience, that always, I mean, I don't, if you wrote how that.
Well, the Tom Roland and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
But that always, like, struck a chord with me. Like, that always, those shows are, yeah, man. That show was probably still one of my favorites besides, Two Kong shows.
And Into the Blue.
And, yeah. I mean, loved it. They're just
very cool.
Amazing shows, man.
Yeah. I went on their website and I went to like the contact form and I wound up just writing these different, and I explained what I can do and social media, blah, 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 a whole bunch of BS, or just what I had learned in college basically. And here's my passion in fishing. And it speaks a lot of character for them who got back to me,
Right.
Like Tom Rowland got back to me and Peter Miller got back to me. And so I wound up having a call with Rich Tudor because I'm trying to find a job coming out of college.
Right.
And I wound up having a call with Rich Tudor, and he talked with me for like an hour, explained to me, how they make their money on the sponsorships, how the difficulty in maintaining those relationships, how social media was this new thing at the time, right? This was in like 2012. How social media was at the forefront, and Rich Tudor talked to me for a long, long time. And another person that got back to me is Peter Miller. So all that information that Rich Tudor gave me was so valuable. And I had an interview with Peter Miller. He said, always looking for good people. He was from New York. I wound up meeting with him in New York.
Peter Miller?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And again, Rich Tudor gave me all that valuable information. And I wound up meeting with Peter Miller, and he gave me a shot. And I started working for him right after college. I moved down and I started working for him.
That's all you need, man. That's all you need.
Exactly.
You never forget that person that gave you that shot.
Yeah, exactly. So I got involved in that whole fishing show world right out of college.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went from there, and I worked for him for 5 years, learned so much, and then went and did my own thing. And now here we are, production, photos,
That's great.
Yeah.
And your work is so great. It really is.
Thanks.
I mean, it speaks volumes to just the quality and the
Thank you.
and the talent, quite frankly. It's really great stuff.
Thank you. I work with really good people too.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking your friend, my friend, John Watler.
Oh, Johnny Watler, the original producer of this show.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the first 60 or 70 episodes.
Yeah. He's amazingly talented. I work with him. My friend Steve Yankar, Chad Smith. They have Preach Productions, it's called. They're up in Tampa. You know what I'm talking about? I work with great people, and that helps me a lot, right? Cause
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about your story with Michael.
Oh, with Michael.
So you're filming on his boat.
Yeah, for the Two Conch shows.
Yeah.
And what I was getting at, Mike is one of those guys that he knows that fishery so well there that he knows when to make a move, right? And has all this different stuff in his back pocket, right? Okay, we go offshore. Doesn't look good. Okay, conditions don't look right. We're gonna go over here. I know where I can pull one every time, right?
Right.
So I know what I could pull at different times, like you were saying.
It's like cheating. It's cheating. I mean, basically, that's what it feels like to me. The guy is just,
that's what makes a good charter captain is looking at the conditions and saying where to go and when, right? I know what to do at all these. It's like playing golf, right? You look at a scenario like, pitching wedge. I could lay it up on the green, then put it in.
Yeah, so I know this course. I played this course 100 times. Yeah, that's great. It's delivering for your customers and your clients.
Yeah. So that's when I filmed with him, we have an amazing episodes, 2 amazing episodes, where we caught everything. I mean, it was like the bill fishing was off. We caught the yellowfin tuna. Go and caught the mullet snapper. The star-studded grouper. go do all that
Yep.
stuff.
It's their version of a snowy, isn't it?
I think it might be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
okay.
it's the
That's
same.
what they
We
call
caught
it.
a potential world record. I think it was like 2 pounds off the star-studded grouper. I mean,
Really?
yeah, it was giant. We filmed the whole thing, like waited. It was massive. Yeah, with Mike.
Now, this was a Two Conks episode that was being filmed down there?
Correct.
Cool.
There's 2 shows that we do. Two Conks. It's Two Conks Sport Fishing TV, which is on Outdoor Channel,
Mm-hmm.
and then Two Conks Adventures, which is on Sportsman Channel.
Okay.
So we were filming both.
You ever get to fish while you're filming? I mean,
It's so I do. I'm around it all the time, and I do.
yeah, that's good.
When everything's done.
Yeah, right. You got to work first,
Yeah.
right? To fish. I always wonder that, man. I'm like, these guys like are out on the boat all the time, and like some of them are probably like really passionate fishermen. And like,
Yeah.
do you ever get like you seeing all these guys catching
Yeah.
fish? Like, they ever give you the ride every now and then?
Well, I mean, you never want to take away from something that might be good footage. So
Right.
it's like when everything's done. Jack from Two Conks has a saying, which has become a joke now. It's time to go home when the cameraman starts fishing. Because it's like we got what we needed to get done.
Yep.
But with some of my friends that I work with, for instance, John,
Yeah,
amazing fisherman.
he is.
We were in Miami during that crazy sailfish
Yeah.
bite like a couple weeks ago, and we were calling John Eagle Eyes because
Yeah.
he's like
He's the quiet, stealthy,
Yeah.
focus, concentrate one.
Yeah. I'm 5 foot nothing. He's 6'4",
Yeah,
and he's
6'4", looks like
standing-
John Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's standing on the bow, sailfish, eagle eyes, and I'm like, what the hell is
Yeah.
going on? So, and that's what's cool about our job is we get to be around it all the time and to go with amazing fishermen like Mike Allagood and watch all that and just soak all that in,
Yeah.
and learn from that, and eventually sometimes get to fish. And
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And you do some filming for the CCA.
I did.
Too,
I
right?
did a ton of filming. And Mike actually got me that gig, and that was like my first break when I went out on my own and started
really?
my own company. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, with Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did a whole bunch of CCA stuff, and that was really
Yeah.
my first break.
And was that for the reef
You
deployment?
filmed the reef deployment as well. I remember that. You did a phenomenal job with that, and that was really, really cool. I still go back and watch that video, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, this is awesome,
Yeah.
And we'll have definitely
We
have
dove.
to do another one. Yeah.
We dove we
Yeah.
dove the reef that he deployed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you get in the water every now and then too, right?
Love
You
it.
just posted up a sailfish, a sailfish
Yeah,
video in the
Miami.
water. Yeah, that's cool.
I love it. It was when I was younger. Do you dive at all?
I used to dive. I
Yeah.
don't really dive much anymore.
Yeah.
But a long time ago, like when I was in my 20s and 30s, I used to go down a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like, I wasn't a huge swimmer when I was younger. And then when I got older, I realized that I can watch fish, like, especially scuba diving.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, it kind of all makes sense now. You're not just dropping weights and hitting them in the head. You look at behaviors and you see things that you would never see. And that's
Yeah.
when I started getting in the water.
Is she going in the water a lot more often lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
I do. I get in and footage, a lot of like surface swimming,
Mhm.
but I also do diving too, scuba diving.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
cool.
Yeah.
What's it been like? I mean, you get to work with CCA, and you do a lot of stuff with, like, you were doing stuff with like Everglades boats and the Two Conks and the different things like that. Like, just I know what it's like to be able to include my passion in my career,
Yeah.
right? In my passion, mixing passion and profession. I mean, in your words, what's that like?
Oh, I mean, you could say a cliche thing like, love what you do, never work a day in your life, but it really, it's amazing to take a step back. When you get grinded down, right, and you're like,
Mhm.
and you're beat down, and you're like, oh, I've been working so much, and I'm exhausted, and and you're buried in work. You really need to take a step back and be like, well, I'm doing what I love. I mean, I'm
Right.
around what I love all the time,
Yep.
right? I mean, I'm surrounded by it.
Yep.
So that's the best thing for me about, my life being enveloped with boating, fishing, being around water, and
Yeah,
I mean, can I ask a question? I know it's your podcast, but can I step in real quick and ask a question?
Of course, you know better than that.
I Mike, I hate to lead you with this, but there were some puns in what you just said, and before when I went to introduce you to Dennis, I told Dennis, I said, man, this guy's got some stories. He's got some stories, and when you just said ground down and beaten down, I thought about the story of when you got ejected from that boat.
Yeah.
You got ejected from a boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a sandbar situation?
No. No. So this was in 2020, and I was doing a photo shoot.
As if things couldn't get worse.
Yeah, I know. Well, the irony is I was working, right? Which I was like,
right.
Trying to work as much as possible when things weren't, there was no marketing. Who was marketing in 2020? They were just scared, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And the story was I was doing a photo shoot for Blackfin rods with my close friend Jonathan Wright.
Okay.
Do you know Big John, you guys?
I don't.
Great dude.
I know the name. I don't know him personally, though.
6'5", big old guy. Who, anyway, I was doing a photo shoot, and we had an amazing day. I was actually meeting my fiance at a wedding, my close friend Krista Tucker, at a wedding in Tampa, and we were filming that day. We did a photo shoot, a bunch of rods.
Right.
Coming home, got cobia, dolphin, great day, and we were hauling ass. It was a 24 Islamorada bay boat with a 400.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, we were hauling ass.
Sounds underpowered. Needed probably a little more power. Yeah.
The thing was badass.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I don't, there's been crazy stuff, work experiences, like, but this was pretty at the top of the list. I was facing backwards, getting a video of this motor at sunset, like just sun coming down, beautiful, doing it like, I don't know, over 75 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, tumbling through the air, fell out of the boat. And I guess what had happened, the captain had hit a wake and, cut the wheel, something like that, and threw all three of us out of the boat. So I'm like, from this to tumbling through the air into the water, and I'm like, oh, I still got my camera, man.
You're down.
I was just gonna ask, did you get it on film?
No, this was in St. Lucie River.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like in Stewart.
So you're inshore.
Yeah, in the river.
Wow.
Yeah, in the river, just going to the ramp. Going home after a great day. After it was rough offshore, it's
and that's the last place you're expecting to go in the water.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally,
It's if you're offshore, if you're like hauling ass and it's like 5 to 7 out, and you're like banging around, you're like, oh yeah, I might get knocked in, who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in a situation like that you're probably all relaxed and not expecting anything.
Yeah, sunset, beautiful, but that's how quickly things can go wrong on the water.
Yeah.
When you're least expecting it, stuff could happen like that. So it's like tumbling through the water. I thought I had messed up. I thought I fell out of the boat. My first thought, and I had my camera in my hand soaked, and I see the boat doing a loop. So I thought, they're coming to get me, because I'm like, dazed, right? And I think they're coming to get me, and I hear Jonathan screaming, "There's nobody in the boat! Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" And the boat's in this hard overturn. Doing circles like this. So what had happened is he threw me, Jonathan, and the captain out of the boat, and the boat went in a loop like this, and was just in this loop, which I'm sure you've seen, like qualified captain.
Sure.
And right, and he's like, get out of the way of the boat. So we see the boat diving underwater to get out of the way, diving like, going under. One time, 2 times, I come up and I let go of my camera at that point.
Right.
Because I was like, I'm gonna, I didn't even.
You need to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
All my footage from that day, all the photos and everything.
Man.
Yeah, but this happened so quick. I'm telling it in this long, drawn out story, but it felt like 5 seconds.
Right.
So I come back up after diving out of the water, and the boat's on top of me, and I got hit by the boat, some part of the back part of the boat, right? Either the skeg or the trim tab. And I felt it, didn't feel it. My leg was numb. It wasn't even really a thought. And there was like a dilapidated sailboat nearby, and I started swimming, and I'm like, okay, my leg's not working. So I start swimming to the sailboat.
It's a freaky thought.
Yeah, it was just, but all this.
But in the moment,
didn't even.
Your adrenaline is trying to just get you there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was so quick. This was so quick. And so I get there, and I get to Jonathan, and he starts helping me swim. And we climb up the back of the sailboat, and I step up there, and blood just starts pouring out of my leg. And I'm like, oh, and I didn't. It's just blood everywhere, and I'm like, damn, I don't even know what happened. No pain,
right?
No pain. I'm just going like,
yeah.
So this happens, and I sit
down.
Dude,
that's scary.
It was, in hindsight, it was scary afterwards. Like, when I thought about it when I was at the hospital, I thought about it. I'm like, and I called my mom. That was scary.
Right.
But at the time, none of it felt scary at all.
That's true. Usually, like when you're in the moment of the situations like that even happened recently when I was having my heart issues and I was going through all that crap.
Yeah.
It's like I look back on it now and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? I should have gone in sooner or whatever, or you think that because you think in the moment you're doing okay and your mind doesn't want to go that something's really extremely wrong. There's the fight or flight or whatever you want to call it.
Adrenaline,
adrenaline, survival instincts.
Yeah, adrenaline.
So what happened to your leg?
I cut my leg open really bad, and so, but this is another way. This is all going to come back to Connected by Water.
Okay.
So
it always does,
my friend.
It always does.
Yeah. Seriously. So we're on this sailboat, right? And luckily, a couple had seen this happen on shore, and they came out in their skiff, and the woman was a nurse.
Right.
And they brought us to their mansion on the water. Jonathan carried me up the dock. He had broken ribs. Carried me up the dock. We get to their porch, and the woman put a tourniquet on me. And, again...
you had God smiling on you. A nurse rescued you, huh?
I know. Seriously. And so I go to the hospital, and I had lost my phone, my keys, my wallet, and... So I get in the hospital, right?
What's going on with the boat at this point? Is it still turning?
There's a video. There's a video that on Fox News, on ABC, that showed the boat had been in this loop, hit a sailboat, straightened out, jumped the dock, landed in someone's yard.
Well, it did something right. It hit a sailboat, so...
Yeah, destroyed a dilapidated.
Listen. Yeah. We hate DVs, derelict vessels, right? Especially sailboats.
Yeah.
We just hate sailboats in general.
That is something we should probably talk about.
But you know what? This is the one out of however many thousands of derelict vessels and sailboats that actually think I was there.
So. Yeah, this thing, like, the video was all over the news, and everybody had seen it, and they didn't even know it was me, right? And, this video came out, and it was, like, a police helicopter saw the whole thing. So, hit this dock, landed up in the yard. I went to the hospital, and this woman at the hospital, Cleveland Clinic in Stewart, I have no phone, no keys, no wallet. My contacts, I wear contacts, were blown out of my eyes.
Really?
From... tumbling at whatever speed it was. And this woman saying, Mikey. And I'm like, I don't even know what this person is.
You can't see.
Yeah, I can't see. And she's like, Mikey, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, who the hell is this woman? Who's helping me, right?
Right.
And then she says, I got to call George. So I'm like, oh my God, it's George God's wife.
Oh,
Heather.
come on. Really?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. I know both of them.
Yeah, she sewed me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't believe it. So I realized I see George, and I'm like, and it's George Gods, and I spoke with him.
Yeah.
So I realized it's Heather, right? Who was my nurse and who sewed me up.
Right.
And that was that.
Yeah, that's crazy. And of all people, man, God was smiling on you that day.
Yeah,
Because
right?
he had you in line to do...
And a friend. I'm like,
right, exactly. And so not only that, but George has got a background in medical and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. and that's the story, you know.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
many
that's
stitches
not
did you
awesome,
get?
but it's awesome it all worked out that way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I was on.
You still have like a big scar from that? Or?
Yeah. How do I?
How many stitches did you get?
A
Yeah,
lot.
Sam, let me see that thing.
Yeah, a lot. That's where it is.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't.
What hit you?
I think maybe
The trim tab?
Trim tab or the skeg.
Yeah.
You know, here I'll show you.
You're lucky you didn't get amputated.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't think I don't think it could be prop because it was like
Probably not.
Here I'll show you what it looked like at the time.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy.
Crazy, right?
George Scott's
So
wife.
they probably totaled that boat, huh? I'm assuming that boat was probably.
Apparently, it was in pretty good shape.
The derelict vessels. The derelict vessels are an issue there, Mike.
Yeah, they definitely strike a chord with me.
When you get elected, what are you going to do about it? Oh, there it is. Here, show that camera there. Wow.
So that was that, and then
That is a slice and a half, brother.
And then that was sort of the,
Yeah, like Frankenstein.
yeah. But Heather did a great job. It healed up nice.
Oh, my goodness.
You got full use of your leg and everything, yeah.
Yeah, the muscle comes down a little further on this side.
Yeah.
It
No
looks-
neuropathy or
looks
anything
strange.
like that, or
I don't know. It definitely there's the muscle kind of shuts up, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
I mean,
Not cool, but
not cool,
yeah.
but cool that all's well that
Experience.
ends well. Yeah.
Another life
So I
experience.
get a funny related story. So back when Scales like kind of died off as a brand for a little bit, and then Matt Williams got involved and like resurrected it, and then he hired me out for like a year to help him just clean up the design of the brand and just get the brand going again.
Yeah.
And so I have a good relationship with them. He was telling me a funny story that they had the little bait boat, right? I can't remember what kind of boat it was. I think it was like a little conch or something like that. And they had wrapped it with scales on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember.
And then he sold the boat, right? And then the kid that bought the boat really loved the wrap and just refused to take the wrap off, right? So, but this kid kept falling in the water, and the boat was like, he was on like qualified captain like 3 times. Finally, Matt had to call me like, dude, take my wrap off your boat. Just like see the scales boat like all over the internet.
Oh my
like
gosh.
just flying around.
Yeah.
No, it's not the well, sometimes they say, right? It's
Any
like,
publicity?
right, yeah, but maybe when it becomes
Matt
too
wasn't
much.
happy. He was like, no,
Yeah.
no. I want to talk today about conservation, right? Because we're all kind of linked here. CCA, it's a big topic. It's something that we always get into. We don't necessarily have to go into all the Everglades stuff and the Lake Coast stuff that's going on right now. That's a heavy button topic, and we've talked about it at length here on the show. We just had Travis Thompson on. So we went over a lot of the Lake Coast stuff, but I do want to talk about some of the things that the CCA has going on, and maybe some of the things that you see when you're out and about. The conservation may be very near and dear to your heart, and preserving our natural resources and our fisheries and just being responsible. And but there's an Earth Day event coming up for the CCA, right?
Yeah, we partnered with Broward County, Port Everglades to.
Yeah, this is a CCA Broward event specifically,
CCA
right?
Broward specifically. We partnered with the county itself, which is Port Everglades. We partnered with Port Everglades, Urban Farming Institute, and a handful of other organizations just to get a bunch of people together. And CCA is bringing down a bunch of oyster shell. Our several drill presses and things, and we're going to make these oyster ropes, which we do these types of events all over the state.
Right.
And you basically can hang them from a cleat or dock, seawall, whatever. And a lot of people don't know, but an oyster shell is the best substrate or surface for new oysters or oyster spat or to colonize on. Right. So you think seawall or dock piling or improperly taking care of boat bottom or whatever, but or concrete. But an oyster shell is the best thing for another oyster stick onto. So by hand, we always have volunteers. We make these things, and then we're basically taking the product of this, what we're doing at this event, and we're currently in the process of drawing up an agreement with the city of Fort Lauderdale to utilize 200 cleats along the New River on city docks, city seawalls to hang these oyster catchers for these oyster ropes. We call them oyster catchers because I did a project in 2020 to study. I used private docks, so I didn't have to go through the red tape and the bureaucracy of dealing with the city and other agencies. This time I know how to navigate that. So
I liked that project. It was a really good way to get data.
This is a more
information.
advanced version of
Yeah.
that. We're working with a young girl named Stacy Brown, who's a graduate candidate for marine biology at Nova Southeastern. So we're connecting with universities. Her thesis is on mollusk, on studying mollusks like oysters and doing microbiome and all sorts of different things. So she's all about this. She's going to be helping us out a lot. The port's helping us out a lot with this, and we're going to use this data essentially to see what parts of the New River are growing oysters and what parts may not be, and then what does grow we can end up using to kind of seed an oyster reef. And so when we, as an organization, and other organizations can do the same thing, obviously, like when we do them, we use oyster shell. So we partner, we have agreements all around the state with landfills where we keep, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of oyster shells, dry them out for a year, and then we use them and basically end up basically just kind of dumping them into an area that's permitted through FDEP, Army Corps, FWC, and basically you create, from an otherwise muddy area, right, that may have formerly been an oyster bed that was killed off or run over by boats or whatever. You can create this reef by using shell as substrate, and then you can take the live oysters that you've grown in other areas of that waterway, essentially as seed. So when they reproduce, then their oyster spat, which is basically baby oysters, then they can stick onto the substrate in that reef that you put in there. So you use them essentially to seed this area. So this study will be interesting because, like I said, there will be two-part. Not only will we know kind of more about the New River in Fort Lauderdale, but also we'll be able to utilize what we grow to create larger things in different areas that will get permitted. Ideally in the New River. So.
And the oyster programs are really a critical part of CCA's research and habitat restoration process throughout the entire state.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so good to see. I think they got like a $1 million kind of pledge, right, that they're putting forward right now to do a lot of this. And you saw some of that with the Fort Myers Beach and the restoration they're doing for Hurricane Ian as a part of that as well.
We have we just announced in January a 20 different grants to 20 different chapters who can apply. $50,000 grants, right? So a total of $1 million straight from our habitat fund that's purely funded by proceeds of CCA from everything that we do in fundraising. So I'm going to be applying for $50,000 for Fort Lauderdale to do in addition to the John Michael Baker Reef, and this time it's going to be 500 tons of limestone boulder, which is in a pre-permitted spot, actually going to be off Deerfield Beach. And we're going to partner with other organizations that'll be able to do coral studies, coral outplanting on it. That's not a thing that we as an organization have gotten into a lot, is coral research and coral outplanting, but it is something that is extremely important in resiliency for our shorelines, first of all, and secondly, obviously for fishing, right? So that's something that in the time that I'm with CCA, I want to try to expand upon is us getting more involved in some more offshore things. And hopefully learning more about coral and outplanting more coral and so on and so forth. So
I think it's important for the Broward chapter to get more of the offshore stuff involved. We're primarily offshore.
There's just not a ton of inshore opportunities because we're all seawalls now. And so it's unfortunate, but at the same time, there are opportunities in the New River, and there's other opportunities in other places to put natural habitat back in. Unfortunately, it's just that I don't think that our leadership within the city and or county has quite the understanding that we do as far as what used to be there, what needs to be there, what works, what doesn't work. So I think that they need organizations like us and people that have an understanding, in the community to be able to help drive that effort forward, so we can kind of teach them and help them, accomplish these things. These people aren't water people. There's a guy that's quite popular, Jeff Maggio, great fisherman, a big activist, and he it's funny, he always uses this one line. He says, "Who's running on water?" Right. And we got election season coming up, in November. We got, there's state representatives, there's city commission.
I'd like to have Jeff back on the show.
Yeah,
actually. I mean, he hasn't been on. I mean, we had him on a long time ago, but I'd like to get him back.
He's got a great message. Jeff's got a great
he does.
message, and and those are things that people should think about as well. And I try to explain, given kind of a little bit of the political history or background that I have now, that unfortunately voters don't exclusively vote on water, right? They don't.
Well,
most don't.
Yeah.
A lot can and do, but you don't win an election as a city official by running on water, right? And so, and it's unfortunate, but it's the truth, right? And so that's why candidates who understand water need to have that as part of their, as part of their campaign, but cannot be exclusively a one issue candidate, because that's just not how you win a race. If you want to put the right person in office, they've got to run, a comprehensive slate on their
Mike
campaign.
Lambrechts for president.
So, you listen, I was very excited when you ran for office last time around, right? And I hope you do so again. I don't know. I don't expect you to tell me anything right now, but I just definitely think that the city of Fort Lauderdale would benefit greatly from having you in a position of authority and decision making, and quite frankly, action. But I had to ask you though, that going through that entire process, I mean, I would assume that you think about approaching it differently this time around, but you had to have learned a lot during that process, like an immense amount in a very short period of time.
Yeah. That was the best part about it.
You mentioned something earlier about the people that are in office right now. They're not from here. They don't have the perspective that we do, and they're just making decisions based upon sheets of paper. Or you didn't say that, I said that, but about the sheets of paper part. But I think that it would be really, really great, and I would think that the experience that you would have this time around people would be receptive to that a little bit more. You had to deal with things like traffic and different other things that were going on in your district, and not just water issues. And there was a whole myriad of different things that were going on in that district that you had to get involved with, that maybe other people that might have been a little bit more, I don't want to say in bed with situations about it. But,
No, I mean, every experience in my life that's been trial by fire has always been a great experience, because you learn so much, and there's nothing that you can't open a book up and read it cover to cover and learn as much as you can learn, and by doing something, by being thrown in the fire, I'm just having to do it.
Right.
I don't want to say on the job training, but obviously being a first time experience, I mean, there was so much to learn and a lot of discomfort with it, right? And the discomfort is not knowing how to approach things, or not knowing what's going to happen, or you have these debates, or you have these forums, and you're running
listening
against people.
to guidance and all that.
Yeah, and running against people that have been doing this for a long time and have been running for a long time, and this is their thing. They're comfortable with
it's
it, right?
Their game.
So, but I would say the next time around, it's excited for it, because I'm going to have a lot more fun with it. Like, I had fun with the last one, but this one I'm going to have even more fun with.
I think you should, because I almost think that maybe that was the element that I think that's a really good way to look at it, the fun, right? And that's, I think, what everyone needs to really look at too. And I've been kind of looking at that, especially since after everything that I've just been through health-wise, right? I came out of it going, all right, new perspective, what's important, what's worth doing, what's not worth doing, and all that. But you know what? Mikey, we're creatives because we enjoy this, our passion. We want to have fun doing this, right? And if you're not having fun being a creative, then man, that's a tough gig. That's a tough life. If you're not having fun in your creative field, that's a very tough way to go, because it's hard work, man. It really is. And so many sacrifices go into following like your dream. Like, all three of us here at the table are self-made men, right? We're all doing like our own thing, right? And a lot goes into that. I recently posted up something, the work that nobody sees, or the work that everybody sees happens because of the work nobody sees, right? And the same is true with any time you're like a self-made man. Like, I think that creativity in itself is just kind of, it's a broad term. I don't think I think everybody is creative. And if you don't think you're creative, then I think you're wrong. You just haven't found your creative outlet yet. I think it's innately human. It's an innately human experience for us, right? And ultimately, that if you're not happy doing it, then that's a problem. That's a big problem that people need to address in their life. So going back to that, if you're going to run, have fun. You know what I mean?
You might
because you enjoy it.
You might as well, you know, and
a lot of grumpy, old, unhappy people out there in the world.
And listen, you know, the other thing is too, you have to expect that you're not going to make everybody happy. Not everybody's going to agree with you, but as long as you are doing things for the right reasons, then you can sleep at night knowing that, you know, you did your best. And there's a lot of things, obviously, that I think I would change this time. A lot of dynamics. Things are a lot different now, unfortunately. You know, even municipal elections have become quite politicized and quite partisan, because even the parties are involved in that, even that they're not supposed to be. And so there's a lot of learning lessons in this thing to kind of to know how to poll and attract different voters and to kind of capture different people that you would have not been able to capture before. And so that's what I really look forward to, is the opportunity to do it again, knowing what I know now, you know. And you know, we'll see what happens. But, you know, and one more thing I'll touch on is you mentioned Lake Okeechobee. The state has been, I mean, this is kind of like almost every municipality in the state of Florida. Everybody's catching up. We're all playing catch up. Nobody's put water at the top of their, you know, at the top of their list, right? I mean, Fort Lauderdale hasn't done it.
They better start doing it soon.
Yeah, and you know, I think a lot of it's starting to happen. And I think the state has invested a lot of money and are continuing to invest a lot of money in the tune of billions of dollars. But it takes time to get this work done. You can't just write a check.
I also think that money needs to be responsibly spent.
Correct, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm hearing some things that maybe that's not necessarily the case right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, it unfortunately it kind of always seems to be that way when it comes to politics. But you know, and it goes back to what Jeff Maggio says. It's like, you know, you gotta try to find candidates and find people, and you know, who are running, you know, on water, or at least who have that understanding, who are really serious about that topic. And you know, our organization, we spend a lot of money on advocacy in Tallahassee, right? I mean, there's a lot of politics that go into these things. You have to lobby a lot of things. You have to have a lot of meetings and lobby our, you know, state reps and senators in our governor's office. So I mean, we have a full-time lobbyist in our director of advocacy in Tallahassee that we pay. So we dump a lot of money into advocacy to work on policy change, and having the state invest in the proper infrastructure that we need to fix what was going on with the lake, to fix what's going on, you know, with water flow, get water flowing back through the Everglades more. So even though I don't feel like personally we do a good enough job of communicating all of the advocacy work that we do, and when I came into the organization, I'm like, we need to take the bow more. Like we need to pat ourselves on the back a little bit more, and so people understand where the money goes and what we do as an organization.
It's not as glorious as the habitat restoration projects.
Exactly.
And,
You know, the adopt the redfish stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's organizations, I think, that do a very, very good job of telling the story to the public on what they're doing from a policy standpoint, you know. And so I think it's important that people know that as an organization, we do a ton of that work and we spend a lot of money on it. A lot of it just kind of happens without us, you know, telling the entire social media world every day that we're doing.
Right. And I think it seems too lately that the CCA has been crossing the aisle a bit with the water stuff and just helping where they can, you know, wherever they're needed, and doing a good job on that.
Yeah.
Because I will say this, when it comes to the Lake O situation and the discharges, especially, and all the whole Send It South thing, it's a very convoluted mathematical equation that isn't just as simple as one thing. We're trying to do a lot of research about it on the show here in real time, because the more people we talk to, the more we understand that there's a lot that nobody really truly understands. No one entity really truly understands everything that's involved with it. I mean, you're talking about a dike that was built a century ago,
right?
That's holding water,
right?
Just because we live here now. And, you know, what to do with that water, you know, where is it going to go? Is it going to drown the Everglades? Is it not? Is it going to pollute and algae bloom out to the rivers? And yes, it is, but how can we avoid it? And everyone's got their theory on it. But, you know, we're trying to we're trying to do our own research in order to communicate to the people that don't necessarily know everything about it. And we're trying not to take an opinion about it. I just, like we said, at the end of the day, we just want the facts and the truth out there. We don't necessarily, I have no financial money to gain from doing any of this. You know, and that's not why I'm in it. You know, we just want a healthy Florida at the end of the day.
I think we're all on the same page, and
that's what I say. I've been saying on the show. I think we all want the same thing.
It's a convoluted, complex thing,
Very.
you know, and a lot of people are like, why can't they just fix it, you know? And same thing, not City of Fort Lauderdale and every other municipality in this state that has infrastructure issues. Oh, well, they just need to prioritize it and fix it. You know, if the city of Fort Lauderdale just found $10 billion laying on the ground, they couldn't fix our infrastructure problems any quicker than what they're doing right now, because it takes time and it takes resources to do these things. Like, the work has to still be done. You know, just because you have $10 billion, you got whatever amount of money, doesn't mean that you snap your fingers
and
the work gets done, you know. So it's a process, and we're way behind on it. But the more that we all collectively as a group, you know, I don't want to say scream and shout, but the more pressure that we put and the more attention that we give and the more that we show up and the more that we write our state reps and get involved in, you know, our nonprofit organizations that do a lot of work that represent the dollars and the funding that people like you put in and the time that you put in. And I don't care whether it's CCA or Captains for Clean Water or any other organization. It doesn't matter to me, and that's coming from, you know, the vice chairman of CCA, right? Mm-hmm. We're all in it for the same thing. Different organizations are better at different things, right? So as long as people get involved and just care, right? I mean, it's a lot of things, you know, it's one thing to say things on social media, right? It's another thing to actually show up and get involved and actually do something.
Yeah.
So I just implore people to just
showing up is very important.
Just show up. I don't care who it is or where it is or who it's for. I'm not interested in any of that politics. Show up, and we're gonna get this process moving a lot faster and a lot more effectively than we would be, you know, without that.
Yeah, a lot more people need to take that mindset and that perspective.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, this is something we got to prioritize, Mikey. I mean, give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, like he said, showing up and doing something. You know what I mean? That's. You know, and then supporting, you know, those organizations that have boots on the ground, you know, like CCA does a lot. I mean, their habitat restoration and water quality stuff. There's like actions that they take that you can see, you know, working at different points. So, you know, and that's what you need, a united front to really, you know, jam it in Tallahassee's face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you know, I think showing up is, like you said, is the most important thing to do. Yeah. And just being heard and being vocal. I think people need to educate themselves and, you know, get down to the facts and really understand, you know, and don't necessarily listen to the most popular group that's out there. You know what I mean? You just kind of understand that, you know, something needs to be done for sure, but what is it? At the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know, you have this business here is a phenomenal steward of our resources, and, you know, whether it's CCA or other organizations, you know, it doesn't matter. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's about the resource for, you know, and it doesn't take, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to make a lot of money. You don't, you know, have to have the most time in the world, but there's always a way for somebody somewhere, somehow to be heard.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, right, Mikey? So you say you fished your whole life, right? That's your number one passion. You, first and foremost, beyond the creative work and everything like that. Like, what's your target species? Like, what are you after?
Oh, man. I mean, I grew up offshore fishing with my dad.
Yeah.
That's what you know, like I said, the tuna, the shack, you know, that's what we did up north. So I'm more like, you know, I love
like
offshore.
The big eye?
A big eye tuna, yellowfin tuna. I mean, I love that. That's what I grew up doing. I love doing that with my dad. And I kind of brought that down here. Like, now I love fishing offshore. That's what I like.
Right.
But the amazing thing about where we're at is we have everything.
Everything.
Right within reach. You know, like my back. I just went to Hawaii, and I'm thinking about, okay, I need to bring like a telescopic rod, and, you know, how am I going to catch these little reef fish and stuff? And then I realized where I live, right down the street from here, there's tarpon that roll all day in my backyard.
Right.
So we have everything right here, you know. So that's the amazing thing about what we have here. You know, you go the same day, catch a peacock bass, and go catch a swordfish.
Yep, 100%.
You know, so
I want to ask you something that
Yeah.
that I tend to ask a lot of people on the show, right? And Mike, did I ever ask you this? I regret not asking John Louis this last week, right? But I like to ask people. Everyone's got the one that got away, right?
Yeah.
The one fish that you regret, that you had, that your glory fish, right? Everyone's got a story like that you're just
I got
like,
a few.
You're just like, oh, that fish, right?
I have funny ones too.
So, all right, then give me your one that got away. Give me funny ones.
I'll give you a funny one. So, you have you heard of Sport Fishing Championship?
Yeah.
The first episode of the Sport Fishing Championship, when it started a couple years ago, we went offshore, and
we were filming for them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are now?
I am now. Yeah. We went and we were trying to figure out the best way. Starlink changed the game because what it is the show. You have all these different boats, and the idea is to have this live footage of offshore fishing.
Right.
But that first year, Starlink wasn't really in the question. So we actually went out of Grand Isle, Louisiana, and ran around and picked up cards.
Okay.
Like SD cards.
Really?
Yeah. So you'd go out there, go 100 miles, and then the camera guy would put the SD card in a plastic bag, put it in another plastic bag, blow it up, and tie it, and then send it on their way, and you'd go pick it up. And that's what we did the first episode. So I went on this 46 Invincible, this catamaran, and we ran 160 miles to go do this. And we had time in between going to get these cards. And so at the time, right, you're at the rigs, amazing place to fish.
Uh-huh.
So we're like, okay, let's try to catch yellowfin tuna, right? So I don't know why this comes to my head. This is such an embarrassing story. And
and right, where's the popcorn?
Yeah, so the
Got some chocolates there.
The owner of the boat, or the owner, it was Grand Marine. The owner, he's throwing this popper for hours. We go to one rig, throwing this popper, finally hooks up. And it wasn't like a giant fish. I mean, it had to be 80 pounds, 70, 80 pounds. But it was a nice fish, right? And my buddy Neil is filming, right? We're messing around.
Right.
And this fish comes around, and it's pinwheeling, and I'm like, I'll gaff it. And I went to stick it, and I shouldn't have even done it. It had its head down, and it was on the outside of this pinwheel, and I go stick it, and the guy who was fighting the fish is sweating. He's like, it was a nice fish, and he had been casting for hours. So I go to stick it, I get pulled halfway out of the boat, and I drop the gaff. Oh. And my friend's who's filming is
it like one of those where the gaff's just swimming around on the surface?
Wraps up in the line, breaks the line, gone.
Oh.
And the gaff floats up, and I'm like, and my buddy filming it's I'm showing everyone, you know what I mean? The guy just looks at me, he's like, it's okay, and I'm like,
it's okay. So you guys are riding the oil race.
What
That's
a nice
long
guy.
ride home.
a long ride home, right? It would have been a lot cooler with a yellowfin tuna.
Yeah.
And I had
man.
I felt I was, let me do this. I've been doing this
right
my whole life. But then it's I stuck it and just pulled the gaff right in my hand, head down. And that's the thing about fishing, right? It's like a giant lesson in humility.
Yes, it is.
Because you go anywhere and everyone does it differently, and everyone has their own styles. And even when you think something's stupid, it's something that they learn that works right for what they do.
Right.
And fishing is maybe it's that I'm not so multifaceted, but that's fishing. I noticed that so much. I mean, everywhere,
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a little cocky, and I stuck this thing out there, and I lost the gaff. On video, everything. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is that your one that got away, though?
Oh, I don't know, man.
You don't know? Mike, tell me your one that got away.
The one that sticks out to me the most, and I don't know, I guess I've been really lucky, but I can't really think of a lot of fish that are the one that got away. I've been just lucky enough that either I'm a terrible fisherman and I don't hook enough good fish that could be the one to get away, or I'm lucky enough that I am able to catch them at least. But
it was meaningful to you.
This one, I give a lot of credit to my mom, who's the reason why I fish a lot. And when I was 12, she had bought a boat and we went fishing together a lot. And I think this was when we started with a 19 Mako, then a 29 Mako, and I think this was a 29 Mako, and we just started live baiting. We went out to the stink hole off of Dania, and I was on the Florida Sportsman forums, and everybody, I was 13, 14 years old, everybody was messing with me, and I didn't know why. Like, yeah, go down to the stink hole, whatever. I'm like, I was trying to catch kingfish, I can't go down the stink hole. We never caught a sailfish. We hooked a sailfish, basically got it to the boat. First sail, got it to the boat, touched the leader, and went to pull on the leader and didn't realize how heavy the fish was, broke the leader. Okay, whatever. The next one, we had about in the same day, 35-pound dolphin, like a real nice big bull dolphin. Get the fish to the boat, and my mom had the gold Afco gaff in her hand. And it's just, it was what it was. She stuck the fish perfectly. Stuck this thing perfectly, and the fish takes off, and the gaff slips out of her hand. And I'm like, take the rod. And I go and grab the leader. And I'm like, oh my. And that was the biggest, hit me over the head moment. I was so upset because.
Gaff still in the fish.
Gaff still in the fish, floats up. We go back, get the gaff, but. I don't know why, but that one always sticks out to me because it was just like the shot that was just the boneheaded move that I didn't know what the hell I was doing at the time. And, mom stuck the fish perfect, and, my 5-foot tall mom, 110 pounds soaking wet, you know, and I goofed off, and
you were still a teenager, right?
I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah. See, those are the moments that teach you.
It was a learning
right?
lesson.
Those are the moments when you want to not make that mistake again. I mean, those are the moments that
I
teach
lost
you.
my first little, I wouldn't say the wahoo, 15 pounds at the boat, trolling. I would go out fishing by myself, and I was old enough. I was probably 14 at the time. I'd just go out, I was lucky to be able to do this. I just go out fishing, trolling around by myself, pulling values. And then the one lesson I learned was this, brought this wahoo to the boat, but I was by myself, and I was conscious of, not falling out of the boat and the boat driving away from me, So I was kind of in and out of gear, and the fish got, kind of near the boat and swam forward of me a little bit, shook his head, and was gone. And I'm like, oh, that was my first wahoo right there. You know what I mean? So first big dolphin, first wahoo.
You probably thought you couldn't recover at the time too. It was
it sucked, but I don't know. I never let things get to me too much, but it's like I would say if that big black marlin got away,
I was going to say, and look, now you're catching big black marlin in Costa Rica,
or whatever,
right?
But just been really lucky to catch a lot of big wahoos in the Bahamas, and and catch billfish in different parts of the world. And I would say we were talking about this earlier, but like my dream, and like to pivot from the sad moments to what the dream would be your friend who caught that big yellowfin. For whatever reason, it's always my dream. I love tuna fishing, so. Would be to hook, a 100-something pound, plus yellowfin tuna on the edge on sailfish gear. And even more so, the icing on the cake would be to do it by myself, because I like this time of the year, I like fishing in the evening by myself. But it doesn't matter, to be able to do that out front. Like I love catching stuff in that's not supposed to happen, or like catching things in different places and, not doing the same thing, or I'm going to go out and catch 10 or 20 sailfish and, whatever. I love to find different things that don't happen very often, or trying to, you know what I mean? Like,
and it's pretty satisfying when when you're the one, like on your own boat. It feels very good. Or from start to finish when it's your thing. That's a good feeling for sure. So I understand that.
Yeah, no. So that would be definitely a bucket list thing. Do
you talk to yourself when you're fishing alone, or no?
No.
You don't? You do.
Yeah?
Do you talk to yourself?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Maybe I do when I don't catch myself.
Most of the times it's calling the fish that aren't biting like bad names.
Yeah.
It's like even if you could like see a peacock right there and he's just not
when
biting, and you're
now
just
that
like,
I think about it, when I hook one up,
do.
I will definitely talk to myself, or I'll yell and scream by myself and stuff like that. But
Good boy,
those are fun moments.
Well, I mean, I think people have been doing that since like the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Like Old Man in the Sea.
Old Man of the Sea. Yeah.
He had an entire
he's talking to himself
dialogue
the whole time.
And that's part of the reason why it's like, that's a famous novel, because like, he's talking to himself the whole time, and you're looking at his dialogue.
Yeah.
He's cursing out the sharks.
I mean, listen, this whole the romanticism of fishing and just the outdoors is just like off the charts when it comes to like that storytelling and the poeticism of like how it all happened, and I mean that's the good stuff, man. I mean that's what keeps you coming back.
Absolutely,
out,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man. It's like always
that's the space between it all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's the art in it.
Yeah,
right. I'm always trying to tie art into fishing, and because I see it all the time, and to me that like the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the stories, you know what I mean, and just and the places that get designed around it, and like this, that's the.
Where do you draw your inspiration for your work? Is it like you're a mental sponge that you pick it up, or how do you
it's evolved over time. I think at this point in my career, it is just being fully engulfed in this life. And I think that alone, just because, I don't have to tell you this. When you're a professional, you can't sit around and wait for inspiration to hit you. You got to go to work, right? And Chuck Close, the famous painter, was always famous for saying that inspiration's for amateurs. The rest of us wake up early. Every morning we get in the studio, we just get to work. And the whole method behind that is just like, it's the hardest part is getting started theory. Right? When like you're a kid in high school and you need to write that paper and you just don't want to write that paper, my mother would drive it in my head, just start typing, right? Because she knew the hardest part, especially for me, this is the way I was wired, was getting started and just going. So once you get started, then you start fumbling over words, and then all of a sudden you're in it. And painting, creating, designing, it's all the same thing to me, right? So once I've been professional for 27 years, and like once you're in this enough, you understand your triggers and you understand how to get going, and there's a path that you've developed in your head that you want to get to and create, but there's also the have-tos. So you're just balancing your day, right? As a professional, the inspiring moments happen to me when I've already been started and I'm in the middle of it, right? And I catch myself in rhythm, right? You probably have experienced this as well,
like
right?
Flow.
Yeah, you just catch yourself in your flow, and to me, that's the inspiration, right? Is when you're fully in the moment, your phone's not ringing, you're not answering emails, and you're fully in creative mode, and you just catch your flow, like you said. That to me is inspiration, right? Or because you recognize other people's work and you see other people's work, whether it's film or whether it's painting or whether it's, something like that. And you can respond to it in a positive way and say, yeah, that gets me going. That gets my blood flowing. But ultimately that stuff is just part of being part of the life. Right. And just being into it. But I don't know. That's a very, very long way of answering your question.
Totally. No, I understand everything. I can relate to everything you're saying. What do you do when you're stuck?
I just stand up and just walk around. Just because it's like I'm here to work, you know what I mean? So I don't want to really, I don't know, man. I'll eat food, Well,
just
just
focus on something that is completely unrelated to what you're doing.
One thing that works for me is cleaning. Like if I just this is to tidy up the studio a little bit, that gets my blood flowing, right? Stress, that's a big stress reliever for me. Is cleaning, because it keeps my body moving and you're being productive in a brainless way.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'll clean a table or I'll spray down a table, or if I'll start moving stuff around or tidy up the studio a little bit. Obviously I haven't been stuck for a while because my studio's a freaking mess. So I've been flowing pretty good lately. But that's what I do. It keeps my blood and my energy going. You know what I mean? I can't say, I go fishing or whatever. Like that's not realistic. Because if I go fishing, then you're just not going to work today. So I don't know.
Well, and I think that's also like that task completion, right?
Yes.
When you're like, those little wins.
Yeah.
That, you're like, okay, well, I got that done. Now I can go back to this.
Yeah. And I don't want to do anything that causes me to think.
Yeah.
I guess. And the cleaning doesn't cause me to think. It's just like a brainless physical activity you could do, or some people could take a walk, or some people could do something like that. Yeah.
You should call me whenever you're stressed more often, and I got plenty of shit for you to clean.
Do you? I thought you were just going to say, I'll take you fishing. Thanks, Mike.
No, that's not work. You're not working. I know.
But I have to start really considering that that's just more part of my job is fishing. You got to get out. I got to get out. And that's one of my whole reflective things is getting out more and trying to get.
Well, that's the goal. You blend it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
just blend it all and throw it all together,
Yeah.
right? Because that's part of it, right? All this stuff, everything we're surrounded by is stuff that you've seen,
Right.
or stuff that you're inspired by. So being out there is, that's for me. For me,
Yeah, I was going to ask, what
like when
what do you do?
I'm shooting,
Right.
when I'm shooting, I'm good. I love it. I mean, being
Yeah.
on the road, being on the water, or even off the water, shooting is great. Editing is the hard part for me,
Okay.
which is a lot different than, say, you or someone else. They love it. They love putting that all together. That's where I really need to dig deep,
Mhm.
And it's true.
You don't like it.
You don't like it? No, I mean
That's Wadler's thing, though. Wadler loves
oh, he loves
the
it. And he's
editing.
amazing.
Yeah.
And he just pumps.
Yeah.
I said to him,
That's his favorite part.
yeah, he's incredible at it, And I have so many friends, like my friend JJ Slater. He, JJ, and what they do. I said to, I asked him that same question. I'm like, what do you do when they're stuck, right? And he's like, I just do it. I'm like, get out of here, bro.
Yeah.
For me, similar to what you said, like a timeline editing in Premiere, whatever you use, for me to get over that hump, I put anything together. Like,
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Just get started.
yeah. Like it could be shit.
Right.
Anything, right? It just put it down, right? It's vaguely what it should look like, and then you're like, oh, you know what? That kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
That's
Rarely am I stuck in the moment. Like I usually am stuck getting started.
in the morning.
Yeah.
Or-
and just getting it going, and then, but.
Well, I mean, your projects are incredibly detailed, right?
Yeah.
Do you start small or do you start big?
Depends on the project.
Depends on the project.
Yeah, it depends on. Well, I mean, it also depends on what's due. Really.
Well, I mean specific to a project.
Well, yeah, it depends.
Depends.
It depends. Yeah, it's all different. That's what keeps it fresh for me. If I just keep it, like, I don't know, I can't be so systematic about it all the time.
Really?
All the time. I mean, yes and no.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a systematic solution to that, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know that, like, for me, like, photography, depending on what I'm working on, I like to start on details. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the environment's not where it should be, right?
Right.
Like say we're doing an apparel shoot, and I'm like, well, there's clouds everywhere. It's raining. It's all messed up, right? Like, what the hell are we gonna do? Start small, right? Start on the logo, start details, and then you work outwards, and that helps me.
Yeah.
Just start and get little things done. Details.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, even if like that snook painting I just showed you too.
Mm-hmm.
There were different parts, like, there was a lot of different things, like with the mangroves and leaves, and one day I'm like, well, let me just paint the fish, or one day I'm like, let me just start getting going on these leaves, and if the more leaves I do, and that's brainless and repetitious sometimes for me, it's like to go through the leaves, and it's like, okay, that got me going, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's true.
Do you always love your work?
No, more often than not.
Agreed.
No, yeah, I don't. Absolutely not. Like, even it's never done. It's never finished.
Done.
There's always something to do about it, and and that's the biggest part. And sometimes you just need to send your children off to college. You know what I mean? And kick them out the door and just be like, all right, this painting's done, and and
well, completion, right?
Yeah, and it's not like and I think that's a good thing. That's, I think, what keeps you going on to the next one, is always trying to make the next thing better, and that's the way you improve, and that's what brings you back to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you're ever satisfied, you should just stop, really.
Right.
But really, there's things that, like, I was talking to Adrian. Adrian Gray? Adrian Gray is one of my closest friends. Yeah, he's really good. We were just talking about it the other day. He's like, man, I hate everything I do, and I'm like, yeah, me too. And then it's like, one day, like, where does that lead you? You know what I mean? Is you ever going to get it to a place of satisfaction?
Never.
Like, I hope not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's tough, man. Because I said, when the only time I ever really like looking at my work is, like, being in this room is not really, like, this is not, everyone's like, oh, you must be happy you're surrounded by all your work. I'm like, no, I'm like constantly reminded about the things I need to change in my life. Yeah. But it's almost kind of like I don't know, it's a weird thing.
You're locked in your heaven and your hell.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, the only time I really like is if, like, I haven't seen, like, a painting of mine in, like, 5 years, and I'll look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I did that piece. Like, it's not that bad. That's probably the best compliment I would ever give myself. You know what I mean? But that's probably just because it hasn't been staring at me for like forever, and I forgot about it. I'm like, okay, I guess it was a decent thing.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite painting that I've ever done? I don't know, man. I mean, I look at it in terms of accomplishment, like the bridge. So the bridge is I appreciate it. You know what I mean? In its feat and its accomplishment, and I like the fact that it's a big feather in my cap and all that kind of stuff like that. But I look at that bridge every day, and I'm like, man, just give me one more crack at it. You know what I mean? I would change this. I would change that. I would change so many things about that project. You know what I mean? But that's not to say that I don't like it and I'm not proud of it. But you're creative. You know what I mean? Your mind's always going.
Perfectionism is the enemy of progress.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't keep going.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like when that Wahoo was coming along, man. I was like, oh, man, it looks done. It looks good. It's about done, And then I'd come back in and it'd be more strokes to it, and I'm like, holy shit, even better now. And like by the time you're done with it, every little detail, like even watching you paint live, I'm like, oh, he's got to be done. Then he finds the tiniest little thing. I'm like, this would drive me nuts because I don't know when to stop.
That Wahoo did drive me insane.
I'm like, when do you stop? Like, when do you know that? When do you know to stop? Like, when do you know this is good? This is like, and not add that next tiniest little layer of detail, because your artwork is so detailed. It's so impressive.
Dude, that painting did almost drive me insane. I'm telling you right now, and to this day, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, there's a few things I'd change on it. But
that's my favorite one.
But I spent way too much time on that painting. I really did. Like, I shouldn't have gone as deep as I did on it, but I don't know what the hell I was thinking during that entire process, but I got stuck in this loop on that painting where I just kept going and kept going and kept going. I'm like, no, the face has got to shine like a certain way. And I was like, I don't know.
Do you look at other pictures of Wahoos and, when you're doing this to know what, or do you just, it's all?
In the beginning part of the process, I said, like, maybe like, I like the eye reference, or I okay, here's some fin references, so I understand how everything is going to go in the fin and how everything's going to fan out and everything like that, and and I'll just have like some things up around like for reference after I do my initial drawing, and but there comes a certain point in the painting where I just abandon all that and I just paint it how I want to see it. Like with the snook was like that. I had references up, in the beginning, and Adrian sent me a few of his photos to work from and everything. And I was like, all right, cool. And I just drew it on my own, and I was like, all right, I had a couple of photos around just to get some scaling and lighting and features and stuff like that. But once I get to the painting to a certain spot, I don't really need all that stuff anymore. You just start painting on your own, and I think that's where your own personal style comes into play. Really.
I can't draw stick figures, so what you do is mind blowing to me. So
it's you know what? Listen, it's just comes down to dedication and time. I mean, the talent, I think, and I say this about any artist, I think the talent is innate, right? I think you need to have a base foundation to be an artist, to take it to the next level. But I don't think that that's enough, and I don't care who you are. You're not born that way. That talent needs to be developed, and it takes blood, sweat, tears, hard work, and support. Right?
And the work that nobody sees.
And the work that nobody sees, exactly. Yeah. A lot of that work that nobody sees, more often than not. It's almost kind of like football practice, right? You get to play one game a week, but no one sees that practice all week. It's very kind of similar theory.
And then everyone critiques you on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for you. How...
You guys are turning the tables on me here today.
Yeah, I'm interested. So... Okay.
It's cool. No, it's new for me. It's
well,
good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's good.
Totally. I mean, so I never really have a forum whether to talk about this stuff, right? Like, creative stuff, or like, how do you get yourself going? How do you do that? Because that's something I struggle with every day.
Yeah.
And I know you struggle with it every single day.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to bring on, this is kind of why I asked them to bring you on too. I want to start bringing on more creatives onto the show to have these kinds of discussions.
Yeah.
It's cathartic.
Of course. Hearing what other people do, how they get going, when do they know like, big thing to me is when to start over, when you just give up on a project, and But I wanted to ask about like social media, right? Do you look at it as a positive or a negative? One, showcasing everything, and B, judging yourself on other people's work all the time. Is it creative, or is it...
It's a really good question. And I'd like to start that by saying I think it's a great thing. I think it allows a lot of people to get shown and viewed and seen that normally wouldn't have the opportunity to be shown or viewed or seen. I think it could be something that could eat you up, and that's a negative part about it. There is pressure, I think, from all different sides, especially for the younger kids. I have a 13-year-old daughter that's got a YouTube channel. She's got like 16,000 subscribers.
No way.
Yeah. But she's like, we have to temper that, her expectations and her whole thing. Where it's just like, listen, chill out. You know what I mean? Don't feel the need to feel pressure to continually produce. You're only 13. You know what I mean? That's where I see more of the real danger in it. If you're an adult and you're feeling that kind of pressure from other people, I would just say chill out. Life's too short, and just understand that there's a lot of good in the world, and you're not the only talented person out there, right? Yeah. And that's the truth. Mm-hmm. And best to get along with those people and just live life and be happy, right? And just be fortunate enough you're able to make a living doing this, right? But I think that the social media is something to be balanced, really, in your life. And people go all in on it, and I think that's cool if they can make something out of it and just, but I've never wanted to just bury my entire life in it. And people could get stuck doing that, and they get that dopamine hit and that satisfaction of all these followers and all these likes and all the views, and people are monetizing themselves on YouTube, and that's great. I'm happy for you. If that's your goal as a business, then you're doing it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? You're not just doing that for that self-gratification aspect of it. Say, no, I'm going to go into YouTube and I'm going to make a living out of this. And I'm going to try to make money and try to make sponsorship money, and this is going to afford my fishing lifestyle or whatever the case may be. I'm happy for you. That's great, right? But if you're just someone that's just doing it for the satisfaction of the likes, and you're in it only for the likes and stuff like that, I don't think that's the way to go about it, because I think at that point you need to live your life.
You're right. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's my point of view on it.
No, I agree with a lot of that. I think, you're right. That, visibility, it offers an outlet that was never available before. You could go on, and find someone from anywhere in the world and communicate with them at any time, and you can see what they're doing and what you're doing. I think that's amazing. I do think, it's very important to take a step back from it. And this is how I feel at this moment, right? But right. I maybe didn't feel like this last week.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
To look at it and take a step back, because you get caught up constantly comparing yourself.
Yeah.
And looking at what other people are doing. And I think that can be the enemy of, you're being creative, because you're like, well, they did this, I should be doing that,
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of, strength to not do that and to look at it objectively, like you're talking about. But I know I get caught up in it. I'm like, oh, so-and-so's working.
It's very hard not to get caught up in it.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to get around it is to, just like any business, set your plan forward, stick to your plan, right? And if other people are going to knock you off that plan, you can't let them. You got to just keep sticking. Then that means maybe if your plan isn't good enough, then change your plan. But stick to a plan, right? And stay there, and just understand there's other creative people in the world. It's hard, though, to discipline yourself to feel that way all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, because it's jammed down your, everybody's,
like
you said, like your kid feels pressure. That's something that we never dealt with.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So
if you want to like do, like, you just understand too, like, you want a good response every time you put something up on social media, right? That person wants a good response too. And we're all just doing the same thing. I don't think it's anything. Some people might take it as, oh, that's against me. That's against me. It's like, well, maybe the person might not even be thinking about you when they're doing that. I don't know.
No, you're right.
Well, maybe the next one, if you want somebody creative, we can have an OnlyFans, person come on here, and they can explain, are they entrepreneurs? Are they not? Are they business owners?
Entrepreneurs.
Okay. All right. Well, again, for another episode, we can discuss this.
Or another term I like, breadwinners.
There you go.
Yes.
You're all about the salacious, huh?
Well, I just, listen,
controversy.
We're all on the hustle these days, so, inflation's killing us here. We got to You gotta be
Going
able to make
back
that extra
to
buck somehow.
You
You know?
gonna put up an OnlyFans, Mike?
I'm
Just
not
don't
worthy.
show your face. You'll be all set.
I'm not worthy of that. Or maybe I do. Maybe it's maybe it'll work. I don't know. Sometimes these things work out.
going back to conservation,
Mike.
spinning fish.
Okay.
What the hell's going on, Mike?
Nobody knows. That's the thing. Nobody knows. But I've been getting a lot of videos and from people that people that are just friends that have houses in the Keys. What the hell is going on? I don't know if these fish are dying or if they're kind of coming out of this trance. These sawfish that are spinning around and
Yep.
They're dying.
it's wild though. Yeah, I mean, I think they're dying. Obviously, everybody's perplexed, and I'm the last person on earth probably that can opine to it scientifically. So
I don't know enough about what's
maybe
going
ask
on
Charlie
with it to comment
Gregory.
on it right now.
Maybe
Yeah.
Charlie Gregory has an idea. That would be
Yeah.
somebody to ask.
So I had originally heard about this on
I see the
All over.
sawfish videos and everything. And,
like news
yeah.
far and wide, CNN, like worldwide, it's, and people get this picture. I mean, people ask me, they're like, what's up with the spinning fish? I first heard about this on a podcast, I can't remember which one, with Ray Rocher, and he was talking about...
You're talking about with the bait?
Yeah.
Yeah, so all right, so that's what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about the sawfish and the different things.
It's the same thing.
Right. Is it?
Yeah.
So he that one when he was on Andy Mills' podcast, and he actually talked about it a little bit on our podcast too when I had him on for when we did the Tommy Gifford Award induction episode, the IGFA one. So but I don't know the root cause of any of it.
Either.
The scientists don't. I know that. Everybody's trying to trying to figure
Have
out.
you heard of Nick about any of this? No.
Wow.
No. We'll have to do more research on that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't think the answers are out there. Just everything I've seen.
At the very least, I want to dig deeper into the story.
Yeah,
just-
yeah. Well, it's evolving. You know what I mean? It's evolving. So I mean, I hope that we find out what it is.
Yeah.
I hope that we find out what it
Yeah.
is.
All right. Well, listen, guys, we're gonna end this like we always do here. But before we do that, I want to thank you guys, Mikey. It's phenomenal having you in here. Like really great. I mean, I know we could talk forever and all night, but Nick's got to go home. He's got a house to buy. But
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. He's closing on a house.
Nice, congrats.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
At
awesome.
least somebody over here is not getting
Right.
kicked by inflation.
Seriously, doing good, brother.
Awesome.
So, and Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you.
for giving us your time as always, and
My pleasure.
don't be a stranger.
I won't be.
Cool.
I won't be.
All right. So, how do they find you on social media? Speaking of social media,
It's MFin Media on
Mhm.
Instagram.
MFin Media.
Yeah, it's new.
MFINN.
MFIN.
FIN Media.
Yeah.
All
M
right.
for Mike, F for Falcon, I for Yoda, N for Nancy.
You can. It's my first initial and the first three letters of my last
There you
name,
go,
but
so-
you
All
could
right.
also make a little joke about it too. MFin Media.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now they'll really remember.
Yep.
All right. Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you can Mike Lambrechts' social media is POTUS at POTUS.
That's it.
Don't do me
Right.
like that right now.
Maybe in a couple months
Yeah.
you'll relate.
Yeah.
Let's get past November.
Yeah, support the CCA. Watch Two Conks. Right.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Your ego is not your amigo. Always do your best at the end of the day. Let God do the rest, and do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we are all Connected by water.
Connected by word. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
gentlemen.
you.